all my money going? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm literally buying Starbucks every day. So they get my money. But yeah, it's a wicked good beer from Micah. It tastes just like a pumpkin. Looks like a pumpkin. Hopefully I turn into a pumpkin. I don't know. Lauren, how you doing? What are you drinking over there? And Lauren is famous. If you guys haven't known, Lauren made a TikTok video that has gone, and there's like 20,000 people who have viewed it, and she's kind of a big deal right now. So we have luxury, we have royalty in our presence tonight.
Well, I almost was giving up with the TikTok thing because I was like, I'm not getting any views. I think it can sense how old I am. This is ridiculous. I'm done. And then posted a 5 fun facts about Hocus Pocus last night to promote our episode. And this morning I went to look at it and there's 4,000 views. I'm like, what the hell? And now I think it's at 15,000. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to this TikTok thing. I don't understand it at all. I think it's insanely ridiculous. I don't get it, but finally I made a video, and my one video that had like 19 views is now at 40. So I'm making it big. My parents said I wouldn't amount to anything, but I sure showed them.
Yeah, you sure showed them. I'm proud of you, real proud of you. Because initially you were like, I'm too old for this TikTok thing, and all your friends like Erica and them were making fun of us. Jess makes fun of us. But you know what?
Yeah.
We're gonna get the last laugh because, gosh dang it, we're gonna make $5 a video here pretty soon. All right.
And then my daughter's going to take a cut because she's my director on all them. The
Yeah,
9-year-old, you can hear the 9-year-old at the beginning of the video yell action.
I didn't realize at first, and then like the automated little whatevers was like,
Oh, does it say
it's
action?
no, it says it doesn't say action, but it doesn't say hocus pocus. It if you're reading the
Oh, yeah.
captions, it says like hawk pock or hawk cock or something like that.
Yeah,
And
it's Hawks Cox.
Hawks Cox. So stay tuned for the the explicit version of Hawks Cox or whatever the heck TikTok's trying to push. But no, we have a really great episode. With us, joining us as you see, is this gentleman on the screen. He has a great comic book coming out called Grim Space, and we're going to talk about it today. Frank, welcome back for the third time. You just keep having a lot of fun here, right?
I do. That's why I keep coming back. Either that or I'm a glutton for punishment. But no, it's always fun chatting with you guys, especially when you aren't mean and telling me how much my book sucked.
It's true. I was like, I'm excited to talk about this book, and you're like, as opposed to the others. I'm like, I didn't mean that. I have such a way with words. Imagine being my wife, and I say stupid shit like that all the time because I just say dumb. And I'm like, I don't mean it this way, but you know.
Oh no, talking with the wife is a regular minefield. Just gotta be very careful with the words that you choose.
It's like, did you mean it that way? No, I promise, I promise. But Frank has been on a couple times before, and he is our second three-peat on the Geeks this time, along with Woodland Empire. So, man, and you have a lot of good news.
Competition. Now I'm coming back next week.
Guess what? He's gonna hit me up like, hey, you want to get together? I'm like, of course. You already know. Like, you don't even have to ask at this point. Just be like, hey, when's a good time to talk about this? And I'm gonna be like, all right, we're gonna get you in. Don't you worry.
Three times. Those are rookie numbers. I gotta get into triple digits here.
You're starting to become like Tom Brady in Super Bowl appearances at this point, and I wish we were like the prestigious of the Super Bowl, but at this point you're just there. It's just a regular. You're like, hey, what are they doing? They're talking with Frank this time. Of course they are. He's here so often. And it's great.
My mom just
Sure.
commented that your parents never said that. I know, Mom, I was joking. My parents did say I would amount to
Yes,
something.
we are actually live on Facebook this time, whereas last time I had
Yeah.
the controls, we weren't live. So we are here on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're
Oh,
watching us from. Share, please.
That's how you know that your parents are watching because they're on Facebook.
Yes, unfortunately. Well, her parents watch. My parents don't even know what, like the podcast or I exist. So
We had one episode that we ended up canceling last minute, and my parents were texting me, "Is everything okay? Why aren't you guys on?" So, and if there's any issue, my mom will, like, if we're running late or anything, she'll be like, where are you guys? So, yes, they are. And my mom's even a Patreon. And we actually should do a shout out to Jess, even though she made fun of us for the TikTok thing. She is our newest Patreon. So,
she
cheers
is
to you, Jess.
indeed. She is indeed. I will
Oh, I
say,
didn't do my beer.
quick. What beer are you drinking first and foremost? Is that Tactical Brewing?
It is Tactical Brewing in Orlando, Florida. It's called Zombie Curb Stomp. It's a sour ale. It says it's got zombie blood in it, and it tastes like fruit punch. It really does.
Really?
So it's good, but like I could
Oh.
only drink like one of these.
That looks like
Is
it's
that-
like Sunny D.
That FDA approved. Just
Actually, it looks more orange on the screen. It's more red in real life.
Really? So it's
more
like Hawaiian
zombie
Punch?
blood. Yeah, it is like Hawaiian Punch.
Huh.
Yes. It even says tropical fruit punch.
Interesting. Micah, I saw you come on. I just want to give you another shout out. I'm drinking a beer from you. Before we dive into Grim Space and all that, I just want to say real quick, I've put out to our Patreons that we are doing a Secret Santa again this year. So if you want to be a part of the Secret Santa, first and foremost, join our Patreon. It doesn't matter. You can join it for like $1, whatever it is. We don't care. Welcome on into the family. I've had a couple people like Micah and Corey. They've already given me their sizes. So what I need from you is, if you want to be a part of the Secret Santa, hit me up through the Facebook Messenger and let me know your shirt size, your favorite beer style, your favorite brewery item, and then a beer that you would like to try that you haven't gotten your hands on yet. I know it's a little obscure. Some of them we may not be able to get, but I like to.
You never know.
I want to try to be able to see if we can make dreams come true, because Christmas is a magical time. Christmas.
Let's save some whales.
The holiday season. So yes, please hit me up in the messenger if you're a member of the Patreon, and we'll get that squared away. And without further ado, Frank, why don't you tell us a little about this comic book that you have come here for? You didn't come here to listen to us talk about the holiday season. We're still in October, damn it.
I could listen to you talk about beer all day. Grim Space. Concept is very simple. It's taking classic fairy and folk tales, things that we all know, love, enjoy, grew up with, and I reimagine them in kind of a Star Wars-y sci-fi space fantasy universe.
It's funny you say that, because in my notes I have it's Star Wars meets Jack the Beanstalk.
That's exactly
yes, I did pick up on that. Yes.
So I'm hoping to continue this and adapt tons and tons of other stories and it become an ongoing series. But I'm going to Kickstarter November 2nd to launch what's the first issue, and it's as Matt said, it's Jack and the Beanstalk. So, and I throw in a whole bunch of, you could call them like Easter eggs or homages here and there to other stories, story threads that I plan on pulling on in subsequent issues, so that I can turn this literally into a whole universe of characters and stories that interweave and connect, and it should be a lot of fun.
Right off the bat, when you sent us this and I started reading it, I was like, oh, I'm getting like a lot of Star Wars vibes. And are we, the Kickstarter isn't launched yet, so are we spoiling a lot? Or are we just like loosely discussing what's going on? Or
well, whatever you want to do, I'm open for it.
Hey, you're the man in charge. This is your world. We are just living in it, my man.
I mean, it's Jack and the Beanstalk. People kind of know what the basic premise of the story is. Jack gets some beans. They grow a beanstalk. He goes and meets a giant, and then he has to run from the giant, which is the basic plot of the story, which you can expect. But it's got a couple of twists. It's a little different on how it all works. So we won't spoil any of that. But for the most part, we could certainly talk about what this series means and why reimaginings and reinterpretings are so much fun, and what we can expect from the future, and what other stories we want to talk about. So I spoke to my wife, and she said, I think this is going to be a big hit because people like this idea. I'm like, I know, all the other ideas I've had have been stupid and dumb, and you won't get excited about it. But fairy tales in space, Star Wars is big, and people love Grimm and Shrek and all those things where people mine Grimm's fairy tales for material. So it should be very cool.
Yeah, and I got a little bit of alien vibes too from a certain point there at the end where he's grabbing, there's without spoiling it, there's a field of eggs at one point, and I was like, oh shit, this is like Aliens right here.
Yeah, there's a lot of homage, I guess you would call it, where if you're a sci-fi fan, if you're a sci-fi lover, you're going to be able to pick out little influences, Star Wars, Aliens, and all sorts of other fun stuff that I should be doing in other issues too. Maybe I'll do like something from Blade Runner or Battlestar Galactica or Star Trek. Just kind of it's a love letter to sci-fi as much as it is a love letter to fairy tales.
And you do a lot of that in your other works as well. I mean, we've talked about it before. A lot of the sci-fi and National Geographic was a lot of influence and things like that. And so I love seeing how you take these things and you spin them to put like a fresh aspect on it.
I mean,
well, and you're big on the mystery.
The mystery.
No, I was just going to say the ones we've read, because. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say nothing is original. You know, every story is kind of a retelling of a different story, and that's kind of how I write. I kind of steal from shows that I've watched and movies that I've watched and video games that I played, and take those ideas and throw them up in a blender and try to come up with something unique. You know, so yeah, you could definitely see different influences and homages, and I own it because that's what everybody does, whether they admit it or not.
Well, what I get is a mystery vibe from all your stories, because at this point, this was the fourth of your comics that I've read, because I've read The Last Homicide, The Polar Paradox, and The Macabre Hotel, or Motel. That one was just one issue, yes. But I really liked that one. So yeah, they all seem like they have a lot of mystery in them, and you also seem like you're not always going to answer some of your mysteries. So the Polar Express, I'm sorry, I would not compare those two. The artwork in the Polar Paradox was astronomically better.
I think I remember sea creatures in the Polar Express and Tom Hanks at one point fighting off a giant squid. I don't know, I might have been on some that night, but I think I remember that.
I still want that next one for Polar Paradox, because the way it ended, I want to know more.
Yeah, we're working on that now, and I actually got some pages in for it today, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if I told you guys the last time I was here talking about it, but it's going to be cave diving, so kind of spelunking and stuff like that is going to be the focus of the story.
It's like The Descent.
Kinda, yeah.
Ooh, all right. No, that is great. And are you allowed to? I know there's something you told us pre-show. Are you allowed to break that? Still, are you allowed to talk about that yet, or no? All right, then no. That never happened. We're gonna move right along from that. And
well, no, I would say, I mean, Grimspace, I'm very excited for, and I think it's got a strong future. And if anybody who's read this can see where the story can go next, you know, I put in little things about Rumpelstiltskin and Pinocchio and the Big Bad Wolf. So there's definitely ways to follow up, expand the universe, and to keep Grimspace going.
Absolutely. It's when you're doing the characters, was there any sort of specific person, whether it's from your personal life, did you put anything like of you in any of the characters or things like that? Or were they just like, again, homages from different science fiction kind of things?
I do in some of my stories. Like some of them are very specifically, I have this person in mind when I'm formulating this character, but this was such a kind of a targeted approach to the story. I had to, as I developed the characters, I had to think of different fairy tale characters. So it's kind of hard to wrap myself or any real life people in it because I only have so much space to develop characters, and I had to focus on filling out those roles with characters that can have a fairy tale reimagining in the future. So obviously the two big ones were Jack for Jack and the Beanstalk and his mom, because those are the two big human characters in the story. And I like his mom in this story because she's a badass kind of captain of a spaceship, of a courier ship. But she's not his mom. She's just captain. She's kind of an older lady that's captain of the ship that everybody calls mom. So I thought that was...
Well, that was great, kinda... yeah. When you introduce her character, it goes, Mom, Captain, so over this.
Yeah, because Jack is getting into hijinks on the ship. And Jack's not necessarily her son. He's the mechanic on the ship. But he's caused some problems in the past, and he gets to be kind of a nuisance at times. And he's the black sheep of the ship, which I've named the Beanstalk. So I like that too. So all these little, and again, another little Easter egg that only fairy tale nuts will figure out is that they go to a spaceship, a space station called Spriggan's Station, which is the name of the character is Jack Spriggans in the old tales. So little things that people aren't going to pick up on unless they are uber fairy tale nerds.
Man, we got some deep cuts going on.
I'm going to be looking for that now.
Yeah, deep cuts, man. Frank's like, did you read your kid stories growing up? No? Well, you're about to learn today, damn it.
Wikipedia
Once upon a time in space.
Wikipedia is a hell of a thing whenever you need to do research.
True. And you know, it's funny because when I was going to school and stuff, I was always told Wikipedia wasn't a good source. And now look at us. We use Wikipedia for everything.
Well, Wikipedia is a good source if you know what it's good for. You know, I remember when Wikipedia first was kind of like we were hit with it, and I was in college. I'm like, this is a black hole. I could stay on this site for hours just clicking on stuff. Ooh, where am I going now? And then you need to backtrace. Like, I started off looking at the sun, and somehow I'm researching ketamine. Like, how did I get here?
Where am I at right now? What is happening?
Well, what I was told in years and years ago was don't use Wikipedia as your source, but go to the bottom of Wikipedia and click on the sources they've credited, and they might be, references you can actually use.
Oh, I never.
So it's a good place to start research.
Yeah, it's definitely a good place to get your overall idea and then kind of figure out the nitty gritty. The sources are definitely the best is when you see an article that's fully read, and there's just no sources. It just says citation needed all throughout the entire thing. Like somebody obviously knew what they were talking about, but they were too lazy to research it.
That's the story of my life.
Right.
Literally the story of my life.
My cousin told me a great game where you try to play 6 Degrees of Wikipedia, where you just go to a random page and you try to get to Jesus in 6 clicks or less.
That sounds like a fun drinking game.
It was pretty fun.
All right, kids, we're finding
You
Jesus
drunk and
today.
find
How
Jesus?
fast can you find Jesus?
You go to like Scream, the movie from the 90s, and like, let's get to Jesus. Somewhere from
I'm trying to think how that could be
I was
done.
trying to think. I was like, man, how do I go from that? Well, I guess because you can always look up like the original Scream.
Like Skeet Ulrich could play Jesus.
Well, no, because if you're talking about like going from Scream to Jesus, I'm just thinking about how the original costume for the Ghostface is supposed to like be the KKK, and the KKK is always like some religious cult, and so like I guess that's how I'm connecting the dots almost.
I would go it's a slasher movie, which is about killing,
Exorcist.
which is about afterlife, which is about that's the route I would. How did we get on this tangent? Somehow.
See,
We
what
got here
happens?
somewhere.
We're just talking about Wikipedia and you fall down that hole. I was actually on Wikipedia today. It seems like every other day they're begging for money. Yet everybody frequents their website all the time. Why don't they just throw some ads up there and make some money?
Well,
I think
They're like, if you could just donate 10 cents. It's like, you're not starving children in Africa. I'm not giving you 10 cents.
10 cents? No, I have $20 4-packs of beer to buy, okay? Good God.
I can Google somewhere else. I don't need your page.
I don't care. But going back to the comic book, because that is what we're here to talk about, allegedly. I gotta say, so when finding the art, was it harder finding the artist, or does it get easier finding the artist that matches up to what you're looking for writing style? Or how long did this process take to create this issue?
So this was a little bit of a unique situation in that the artist for it, Dan Scalisi, I've worked with multiple times before on many different short stories. So I've been in 1, 2, 3, 4 anthologies with him. He did a short story for my Modern Testament series. So that's 5 short stories that we worked on together. I also commissioned him to do a piece for my niece's birthday, which is pretty cool. So I've done a lot of artwork with him, and it was kind of a no-brainer to kind of work with him on something longer, a one-shot complete issue. And he did a phenomenal job with this art. Mm-hmm. And he did two of the covers. That's going to be variant covers. The book itself is going to be in gray tones, in grayscale, that we're running on Kickstarter. But I think we have plans to color it in the future. So we'll see.
That was going to be my next question, because it's obviously in the black and white grayscale. And I thought that leaves a lot to the imagination, at least for me. As I was reading it, and I was like, oh, I just picture this being this color, this being that color. And I was like, I wonder if this is intentional, or what your plans were to possibly color it all in the future.
Well, he does that before he would go to colors. Most people would just kind of do stark black and white and then color it. Mm-hmm. He likes to grade in before he colors it. And we were looking at the pages and we're like, these are pretty good. Like, let's Kickstarter like this, and if we're gonna move it to color, we can always do that later on.
Yeah, I thought maybe you were going for a darker theme or something with the black and white. But, you could always do what The Walking Dead did, where they did it black and white because they don't want to draw all the blood and have it look so gory. And now they're re-releasing every single issue in color. So a lot of people, collectors who bought all the black and white ones, are now going and spending their money on the color ones. You always have that option
that's
too.
what it's all about. It's all about the dollar.
Yeah, they try.
Gotta spend
I went
it.
to
I
the
wish I
comic book
had those
store and they're like,
issues
"Oh, do you want all these?" I'm like, "I don't need them again. I'm good."
No, but you
That's,
can sell your black and white for a lot of money probably now.
Maybe.
The Walking Dead has been such a moneymaker for Robert Kirkman simply because they repackaged the damn thing so many times. And people continue to buy it. And that's a little trick that comic creators know that they don't really tell about, is that it's a hell of a lot cheaper to print pages in black and white than it is in color. So
I guess that makes sense. It's easier on the printer and stuff like that, because colors, you got to go through all the tones and things.
You do save a lot of money, especially when you're printing in scale, doing black and white as opposed to color pages.
Interesting. So you mentioned this kind of being a one shot. Are we gonna expect more issues from this then, or is it kind of like, all right, we did this one, let's lay it to bed for a little bit and we'll come back to it maybe later? Or
I think no, we're dead. I'm usually vague on this question, but I definitely think we're gonna continue it and have subsequent issues. Yeah, with this, this is a one shot, as in it's a self-contained story, beginning end. There's not really a to be continued. I mean, there is a little bit of a cliffhanger, but yeah, but the story, I would say itself, has a satisfying ending. Dan Scalise, the artist for this, who's been heavily involved, I'm going to continue the story in one route with him, and then I'm also hopefully planning on doing spin-offs with other artists that. So we have the main crew of the Beanstalk, which consists of Jack. Dan's going to continue with that crew on their adventures, and then we're going to have other spin-off stories that I'm pursuing other artists with. So this is going to be a whole.
He's going Marvel on us, folks. He's got the universe going. He is going Marvel.
In the universe.
Not yet. I'm not ready to fill up the shelves with 20 titles a month. So
pump the brakes. We're not there yet, but give us a year and we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of these characters, I mean, clearly I would love to hear some of the backgrounds with some of them. And just like when you start the comic, you have a robot that's like about to break because it ate pudding. So I thought that was a very unique thing, that then they're like, oh yeah, this model thinks it's human, so it tends to eat things. And I was like, well, that's a whole origin story there just on the robot. And but yeah, a lot of these characters, they're aliens and humans coming together. So it'd be interesting to see, where they came from and how they came together, and where this little pack of, misfits or your Guardians of the Galaxy kind of group came together.
Oh, did the robot's name go over your head, or did you miss it?
Shit, probably went over my head.
I think it went over my head too.
The robot's name was P1 Nokia.
Oh no! Yeah, I did pick up on that one. Yes,
I didn't pick up on that.
But I didn't put together because he's not a real boy. Damn it!
Oh.
I did pick up that he called him Pinocchio. Wow.
Yeah, so that's.
I am ashamed.
Yeah.
I'm fired from our job. That's it. This is the last episode I'm ever doing.
Tricks.
Next time we have you on, I'm going to read the comic 3 times.
I'm switching to be. I'm going to go be a sports podcast now, guys. See ya.
No, he's he's actually spoiler alert, he's actually one of the characters I'm focusing on for a spinoff. So we're gonna get our own P1 Nokia story.
Oh gosh.
Nice.
And his demise and how he gets there to pudding and
Your wish shall be granted, Lauren.
Look at that.
He's I hope he gets drunk and turns into a donkey. That still blows my mind when you think about the Pinocchio movie. Like what a lesson to teach your kids. If you get drunk, you will turn into a jackass. Like that's just, they weren't even being vague about it. Or that wasn't even a metaphor. But, yeah, that is an interesting story.
Well, you know what? It's crazy is because all of the fairy tales, when we really first think of them, we think of so many Disneyized, Disneyfied, what would be the term, versions of them. When you actually look at the source material, it's really dark as hell. You got kids that are dying left and right, and blood and curses.
All the parents are dead.
Yeah, and
Well, that's even in the
it-
Disney ones.
yeah. So I mean, Disney ones, there's talking animals and singing and dancing and color, and that's not really where they
Well,
came from.
isn't like
So
Peter Pan. Peter Pan alludes to in the book to like he kills the kids that 'cause they don't get
No, I
older
thought
or
he
whatever. I
brought the
thought
kids to like he took dead kids to the afterlife is what I thought.
either way, there's like
They
dead
portrayed,
kids. All right, in Peter Pan, that's what I'm getting to. Like
and that's why they
it's just
never
dark.
grow up. But
Yeah,
in the show Once Upon a Time, when Peter Pan showed up, it was terrifying. It was like the scariest thing I had ever seen on Once Upon a Time was
I
Peter
honestly
Pan.
forgot that show existed. I watched it for one season.
I actually really liked it. It kind of jumped the shark a bit at the end, but it was good until it wasn't.
All shows typically do.
I liked the
Only when they go on for too long.
well, I forget the name of the show, but it's got Amy Adams in it, and she's like a animated princess, and then
Enchanted?
Enchanted.
yes, that's a fun movie.
They're making a second
I
one.
love that movie. Yeah.
That's-
Disenchanted.
I love when they play on little tongue in cheek. They play on tropes and stuff like that in different genres. It's always a fun thing to do.
Yeah, they did a good job with that one.
Yeah, that movie came out forever ago. It's got McDreamy in it. Oh man,
It's like 2005, maybe 2006.
They did.
Yes,
Oh,
it
I
has
say forever
Dreamy,
ago. Good
and it
God.
has Elsa before she was Elsa,
That's true.
and she's a Disney princess in that movie. Look at that.
That is so true. Very
She's
true.
a princess and a queen.
So I gotta say too, again, without spoiling it too much, I got very strong when he goes to the market at a certain point. Jack does. I got very strong Tatooine vibes there. Is that kind of what you're
Mhm.
going for, or is it just like just your typical space market?
I was going for space market, but you know, subconsciously speaking, Star Wars is always there. You can never
skip
extract
it,
that.
kids.
No. What was I really thinking of? You know what I was getting from I was getting Dark Matter. You ever see that show? That was on
Oh
Sci-Fi.
yeah. I've seen like a
Mhm.
couple episodes randomly, like late at night. I think.
It was a very good show. I think it ran for 2 seasons or 3 seasons, and then they canceled it, and it had a huge cliffhanger, and they never really solved it or anything. But
Mm.
people that love that show, that have watched the show, really dig it. So that's another one that has good, strong sci-fi inspiration you could draw from. So I think that's where, when I was thinking of the space station with the market, that's where it was coming from. But
Oh.
who knows? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of like throw up on the page.
I mean, that's the way to do it when you try to get started with something. Just throw up on a page, and it's like, oh, I got ideas go from here, and then you can go there, and then just like, boom. Next thing you know, you have all this crazy stuff going on, like a robot that eats pudding and then dies from it.
It's perfect.
But yeah, you do a good job of throwing like subtle humor in there, and like even with Polar Paradox, like there was that one character that like as soon as he said one thing, it's like ugh, everybody knows somebody that's like that. So you do a good job with, and that makes it relatable too. So
I
yeah,
really
I've enjoyed
like
all your
this.
stories. You're throwing it up there, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I had fun with this one because I haven't put out a book that I would say I would call kid friendly. You know, so when people ask me about the book, what's the demographic of it? I say, well, it's kind of the demographic is Star Wars. And they say that's not really what a demographic is. And I say, well, if you ask what's the demographic of Star Wars, do you say kids or adults? Like, what is it?
That's a
kind of
really
like
good point.
it's
Everybody.
made for it's made for everybody. It's kind of it. I mean, I wrote it with kind of adult-ish ideas in mind, but it's totally accessible to children to the point where if I'm at a table at Comic-Con and a family walks past me and they say, "Oh, do you have anything for my son?" I'm like, before this book, I would kind of be like, "Not really," you know. But this is something that I could actually present
Here,
to them.
kids,
and say,
here's the
"Look,
last homicide.
yeah, exactly." So I feel this one is really good. The art is child appropriate. The content's child appropriate. It's Jack and the Beanstalk, so everybody gets it. And
Mhm.
and yeah, so I think that it really checks off that box for me. That now I have something that I would be able to that's family friendly. And it's always weird to think of Star Wars as family friendly because the very first movie results in billions of people dying in the blink of an eye. When you put it like that, it's
I
kind of
mean,
weird,
yeah.
but it's
Well,
It
oh
happened
yeah.
so subtly without you really comprehending. Oh, they blew up a planet, not thinking that it was populated by women and children and families. So.
And then they blow up the Death Star, and you're like, oh, there was nobody innocent working on there. There was just a contractor for the damn Empire.
Yeah. It's very bizarre how we work like that.
I gotta say though, that's a really good idea, and something that's probably gonna stick with me is when we're speaking of the demographic, you're like Star Wars, and it's like, yeah, I guess I've never stopped to think about, yeah, I've shown my 5-year-old Star Wars, so it ranges from that
Right.
age. I watched Star Wars as a kid. He runs around with a lightsaber. I still run around with like Legos up there, so it's like it transcends generations and times, and it isn't one specific like this is a book for 5 to 8-year-olds. This is a book
Yeah.
for X, and it really is. It dives into kids' tales, folklore, but it also puts that fun spin on it to where adults can be like, hell yeah, space market. Like I'd be going out there doing some cool stuff there too. It's got this
Yeah,
navigation system. Like
there's no R-rated Star Wars stories, and they definitely do that on purpose. They keep it toned down. Even something that's a little darker, like The Mandalorian, my kids dig it, because they really make it accessible.
Baby Yoda. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this obviously Baby Yoda's like the biggest thing to hit Star Wars since forever, right? And they'll find a way to market it. By God, we're selling
Yeah.
toys.
Even my
Yeah,
4-year-old knows who Baby Yoda is. I think that there used to be more of a specific demographic for Star Wars, and I think as the generation that grew up with it and Disney bought it and they've shown it to their kids and it's just become so accessible. I think now it's. I think we're learning more now that okay, this is targeting 15 to 35-year-old dudes. Well, guess what? Girls like it too. Guess what? Older people like it too. Guess what? It's kid friendly. Your kids like it too. So I feel like that whole targeted demographic is very much so expanding today when we're not you're not just handing your daughter a Barbie now and your son a dinosaur and saying, have a nice day. Like, no, my son the other day, he wanted a new coloring book and I had Frozen and Marvel. He picked Frozen. And that's not his sister's influence because his sister would have picked Marvel. So, I mean, you just have to worry, I think, about age appropriate.
Yeah.
It's become generational too, where everybody has their generation of Star Wars. We have the original trilogy. I was a prequel trilogy kid where
Me too.
everybody nags on the prequel trilogy, but I'm like, yeah, when I was in high school and I went out with my friends, those were the Star Wars movies that we watched. So even though some of them they're kind of cringy at some point, that was my generation of Star Wars.
Jar Jar Binks.
And then my kids, you know what? I am a Jar Jar Binks fan. I'm not afraid to admit
Whoa.
Jar Jar did
You're
nothing
You're the
to
first
anybody.
one I've ever met.
I have a Jar Jar Binks poster up in my room growing up.
Look,
I did.
Revenge of the Sith is my favorite Star Wars movie, so I'm laying it out there. I don't care what you say. Revenge of the Sith, best Star Wars movie out there. That's part of the trilogies. Obviously, Rogue One's amazing, but
I remember watching Rogue One with my daughter, and I was like, "Wow, this is really sad." She's like, "What did you think was going to happen?" She's like, "You didn't
I
see
don't
this
know,
coming."
not this.
I watched. It was very sad because I was watching with my son, and he knows it's a prequel. So he's thinking like, how come we don't see any of these characters in like the later movies? And so he's watching the final scene, and one starts to die, and he goes, okay, so that's why we don't see that guy. And it happens again, and he's like, okay, that's why we don't see that guy. And he's doing the math in his head, and he's realizing like none of them are going to make it out of here. It was.
Are they all going to die? And you're like, yeah.
Yeah, you cracked the code.
I hate to break it to you, but then Princess Leia pops up, and you're like, you're going to see her again at least.
Yeah.
And then Darth Vader. Oh man.
I watched the entire Clone Wars on Disney Plus for my kids. We watched the Rebels. We watched Bad Batch, and then we all watched Visions together.
Oh man, Visions I was not expecting that to be as good as it was. Like the lightsaber battles, all anime style, dude.
So pound for pound, Disney Plus has been, I would say, our favorite streaming service. We've definitely gotten the most out of it. And my son pointed out, he said all of these Vision episodes are about Jedi. Not a single one does not have a Jedi in it. And I was like, yeah, because Jedi are heavily influenced, I would guess, by like Japanese samurai culture. So it kind of makes sense. Yeah. And I when I watched it, I'm like, I'm not sure if they're going to be into this. And my son said, I don't like anime. And I go, why not? He goes, because they're always yelling.
Has he
Okay.
watched Dragon Ball Z where they yell for 4 episodes in a row and then they find?
Well, we watched one episode of Visions, and he goes, "Look, see, they're always yelling."
Yeah, but
But
like, so am
I
I.
like your son.
we watched them all, and it was cool. I mean, like even something like that, which I think is a little more geared towards adult fans of anime. Like my 4-year-old was watching it and digging it too. So yeah, Star Wars is a good time for all involved.
I've got to, so can we talk
No.
real quick? Because you mentioned Star. I just need to say, the ending to the Clone Wars series is by far, in a way, like the most heartbreaking scene in a Star Wars. Like, I'm just throwing that out there. Darth Vader, when he's on that planet and he looks up and you see through this, oh man, it gets me every time.
Yeah, it was a tough one. You know, the I would say that the animated shows, especially the what Greg Berlanti is, no, not Greg Berlanti. He's the that's the CW guy. Who am I
Oh
thinking
yes, yes. Dave Filoni.
Yes, Dave Filoni. He everything he's involved in with Star Wars has become so
Little
much
gold.
more. Yeah, I when I consider Star Wars, his stuff is really, I think of Star Wars now as opposed to the movies and such, because I feel just such better quality storytelling. And I made a post about this when I was watching Clone Wars, and the man, as opposed to the Mandalorian, where I said the Mandalorian makes me dislike the sequel trilogy, while the Clone Wars makes me like the prequel trilogy even more. You know, so one of my the Clone Wars I feel lifts it up, while the Mandalorian I felt brought it down, because it was just Mandalorian could have showed what the sequel trilogy could have been, but it wasn't.
I'm
At
not a
least
fan of the sequel
my
trilogy, but
geek opinion.
I'm not.
Did you see they
oh,
did
man.
they have the series, The Making of the Mandalorian? And they have like Dave Filoni, when like they called him and asked him to work on Mandalorian, or he thought they were like messing with him because he had only ever done cartoons. It's pretty good. If it's with how into Star Wars you are, you should definitely check it out. It was, and they interview, because every episode of the first season was directed by a different director. So they all like sit around, and that's why a lot of them have very different feels. And then they talk about like, oh, this is what we were going for in this one. And it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff and a lot of table talk with all the directors. And I found it interesting, and I'm probably half as into Star Wars as you two are.
I'll definitely check it out. I checked out all the making, not all of them. I didn't see the Loki one, but I watched the making of for WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, which those are pretty cool too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and they just dropped the Black Widow one.
Did they?
Yeah, I just saw it like an hour. It said it's the assembled. So there's a Black Widow. So I'm wondering if there'll be a Shang-Chi one when Shang-Chi is free on Disney. Well, not free on Disney Plus included.
And Hawkeye's coming soon too, so I'm sure they probably have that as well.
And then they have so many shows, and then they got so many Star Wars shows. So everybody was complaining in the beginning that Disney Plus was not pumping out enough original content, but now it's
because we're in a freaking pandemic.
it seems like that changed real quick.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Frank, before we I'm gonna give you the option before we wrap up with you. You can either hang out with us still while we deliver some beer news, or you can enjoy your night, go back, do whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. There's no pressure either way.
I think I promised my wife we were going to watch the controversial Dave Chappelle stand-up. So
you have to. I haven't gotten to that yet, so you'll have to let me know how that one is.
I watched it.
Well,
I thought it was funny.
So,
before you go ahead and you log off, let everybody know A, when and how they can find the Kickstarter when it launches, and then B, where they can find all of your works and all the good stuff like that.
So I'm Frank the Writer. So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Frank the Writer is my handle. FrankTheWriter.com is my website, and I got free stories and comics up there. And if you follow me on social media, you're bound to run in to the million times I'll be posted about Grimspace when it launches on Kickstarter, November 2nd through November 19th, I think. Ooh. That's how long we'll be on. So if you like sci-fi or fairy tales or both, give it a look.
Yeah, this comic, and honestly, everything that you've shared with us to read and talk about, we've been really big fans of, whether it's the Polar Paradox, and Last Homicide, like everything that you've shared, it's been a pleasure. And anytime you hit me up in the DMs, like, you want to talk about this, I'm like, dude, just hell yes, of course we do. We're big fans of what you're doing, man.
I'm not that assertive. I'm not gonna be like, make room, I'm coming in.
Look, at this point, you like I said, we're creating our own Star Wars, you know, whatever the word for 9 movies are and plus. We're building a universe here, and you've been on 3 times. At this point, you've got a home on the show. You're always welcome to be like, I'm coming in hot. What you got? What date? So just let me know, and we are more than happy to always chat with you. It's always a pleasure. And when the Kickstarter does come out, we will make sure to share with everybody, of course, the where they can find that at. And I know I'm gonna be there getting a comic book, and I know Lauren is as well. So thank you so much again for joining us, man.
I always appreciate the love, guys.
Well, we will talk to you here soon. Enjoy that Dave Chappelle stand up, and from here we're gonna talk some beer news, folks. So later, Frank. Beer news. I was going to share some bottle share news. However, I cannot until next week. So I just want to say real quick that I know Chris was on. Maybe we can get Chris on a little bit next week. Real quick for a preview of next week is we have Carla. She's going to be joining us. She is a writer, and she's from Portland, Maine. She talks a lot about Portland, Maine beers, breweries, things like that. So we have her as a guest next week. It's going to be a wicked fun time. We're going to be talking about beer stuff from my old stomping grounds. But Lauren's got her good glasses on. So why don't you go ahead and you dive into some beer news for us right now?
So if anybody's been following Brienne, also known as Rat Magnet, and Women of the Bevolution, they are single-handedly improving or getting rid of sexism in the beer industry. There is a beer that they actually did launch, a collab beer called Brave Noise this summer to encourage discrimination-free beer industry. To brew Brave Noise, the breweries must indicate that they've created a code of conduct for their brewery employees and customers, and they must make a donation to a relevant charity or nonprofit organization. So it's kind of like the Black is Beautiful beer. I'm surprised I haven't heard of this, but this is not all of my news. My main news is the Mickler Beer Fest. Have you heard about that in Copenhagen? It's supposed to be taking place
yes,
next weekend.
They have a lot of internal things. So if you follow our one of our really good friends, one of our best friends from the show who went back to Europe, she left us. Annie, however, Brewwitch, if you follow her on Instagram, she is actually, a lot of what I've learned about this is through her on Instagram. So go check out Annie Gilbert is what she is on Instagram. Check out her Instagram because she's been talking about this a lot. So I know that they have had a lot of, is it racial sexism, a lot of that kind, because they came out through the whole thing, right? A lot of people came out against them.
Yeah, so I guess there was a few women who said that when they were working there, they weren't treated fairly. When they complained about the working conditions, they were not rectified, nor were they addressed, and it was kind of like swept under the rug. It does sound like Mickler ended up firing people, but I guess the stance they took was not what a lot of people felt like they should have.
They're still holding
as a protest,
beer fest
people
with
are
all these
using
breweries.
Well, at least since I've seen, and I think it might even be more, at least 25 breweries have pulled. And this is an international beer festival. I mean, people from all over Europe, from the States. There's a brewery in Tampa that goes, and they've said, I should see what their updated thing is, but they said that they do still intend on going because they had paid to send the beer over there like months and months and months ago. And even though they don't agree, and this is a brewery that like they haven't, nobody's called them out for being inappropriate by any means. And they're like, if we send our beer out there, then somebody else is going to be pouring it and answering questions. Whereas we do this festival to get an international presence and to talk to people and inform people and educate them on our beer and Florida beer. So it's a very tough position for a lot of these breweries to be in, but a lot of these breweries are like, if we don't make the change now, when will this change come and how do we make this change? So a lot of people are, a lot of breweries are pulling out. As of like, if you had let, and Mickler has come out and they've literally just posted, we're sorry. And they're responding to all the comments now. A lot of
their first, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off by any means.
No, you're good. Go for it.
Their initial thing was like, we're sorry. And then people were like, that's it. That's your half-assed apology. And they were like, guys, I get it. We're trying, we're doing blah, blah, blah. They tried to give some more half-assed apology. And then people are still like, you're not getting it. And then
But
they
then people were
finally
leaving comments and yeah, and now they're literally responding to everything. Oh, that's a good idea. We'll try that. Okay, I understand what you're saying. And
they're putting forth
so
the
I mean,
effort.
it
Yeah.
seems like yeah, they're putting forth the effort. And the thing I think nowadays is people can kind of tell if you're bullshitting. Like if you're genuinely like, "Oh my god, you're right. I didn't realize the work environment that was created here."
Yeah.
And if yeah, okay, you're being a drama queen. I get it. So I think that that's the thing is like people are sniffing out the bullshit and more people are realizing there's bullshit.
Sure.
The article I read was from Good Beer Hunting, which we had on a few weeks ago. And they said they did reach out to Mickle, the owner of the brewery, for comment, and he didn't want to comment. Because I know on this podcast, we're very big on like, let two people tell their stories.
Oh, we very much are, yeah.
So yeah, so both, people have been given the opportunity to tell their stories. But the Mickler has also offered money back for anybody who has tickets, and they're offering discounts on beer that you can buy there if you're still going. Good. So it's a very interesting situation. I think that it's good and bad in both regards, but sometimes you got to dig through the bullshit to get the diamond.
Sometimes you got to go extreme to get positive change, which this is hopefully right. From all this we're going to grow, we're going to move into positive change,
right? Because they make amazing beer. And yeah, I mean,
it sucks. Like nothing was worse than watching that whole thing unfold, and then you see a brewery that you really like on there and you have no idea what's going on. Like us, the consumer, we don't really know what's going on, especially if you don't go to the brewery, you don't work there, things like that. And then you're just like, shit, dude, it really sucks because like you make great beer, but you're really shitty.
And the artwork, I love the artwork. I love the beer. I've been to their place in San Diego and in Copenhagen. Every chance I get, I say it. And both of them are fantastic. But it's funny. I don't know how many people know Mickle, the guy, one of the owners of Mickler, has identical twin brother, and they started out brewing together, and I don't know what happened, but there was some animosity there, and his identical twin brother is the one who owns Evil Twin Brewing in New York. Ooh. So I can only imagine what he thinks of all this.
He's laughing somewhere. I don't know, man. But...
He's the real person I'd like to interview.
Honestly, yeah. I wonder if we can get him on at some point.
That would be a huge person to get on, yeah.
I will say that... I was just going to say, I didn't mean, no, yeah. I do have quick beer news, and then I want to talk about, so I know normally on our show, we go into news. So since this is a Geeks Takeover, I want to talk a little bit real quick about what we saw at Fandom. And then, yeah, we'll just go into some Geeks news real quick. But one last bit of beer news that I have is from my homeland, Massachusetts. Mass lawmakers are considering doubling the alcohol excise tax across all categories. So the bill, which is H2973, proposes raising the rate for malt beverages from $3.30 per barrel to $6.60 per barrel. And then on hard ciders between 3 and 6% ABV, it'll go from 3 cents to 6 cents. So Massachusetts is trying to tax, the alcohol, whether it's beer, whether it's liquor. And this is also why everybody travels to New Hampshire to get their booze. There's New Hampshire State Liquor Store literally right across the border that everybody goes to get booze because there's no state tax, there's no taxes on it. So interesting to see. They're considering it, so we don't know if it's actually going to happen. I'm going to follow the story, of course, because it impacts me on a more personal level. So we'll see what happens out of there. We'll talk about it if anything else develops. Now, I did want to talk about Fandom. It is a Geeks Takeover. I know a special night, we don't usually go into like geeky kind of topics, but we have a few minutes before we got to go off air. So DC Fandom was last week, and it was like in a record, like 66 million people watched and stuff like that. And there was a lot to like. I found it to be kind of boring after a while because they weren't giving us a lot. Like, for instance, we're getting a Wonder Woman 3 from Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, Linda Carter. They're all returning. However, I was like, we can get 3 Wonder Woman movies, but we can't get a damn Man of Steel 2 yet. That's neither here nor there. So first things first, we have a Wonder Woman 3 coming out. They no release date, anything like that. Another thing is
it's better than 2.
God, please. I hope. Like, I don't want Patty Jenkins writing the story. It did worry me a little bit because when she was talking about it, she was like, Wonder Woman doesn't need to beat people up, things like that. Like, we're doing things through the power of love and whatnot. I'm like,
ugh, it's terrible. Oh my God. That whole trope now, I feel like that's like a new trope. Like, like just love, and it's all better.
That's
It's like
fine and
cheese and
all.
rice. It didn't work in Santa Claus 3. It's not going to work in Wonder Woman 2. I mean, come
Well, no,
on.
like what I have an issue with is in the comic books, like Wonder Woman is a badass Amazonian woman who kicks some serious ass. Don't take your only female superhero right now and just like reduce her to like, oh, the power of love.
Love.
No, make her a badass woman. Let her go out there and beat some ass. Kick like all that's like show Wonder Woman. Like I'm fine with yes, she loves everybody. Dude, nothing against that. But she's a badass woman. Let her like take the leash off. Like let her go out there and kick some ass. Like I don't know. Like as somebody
lasso some people.
yeah,
Come
you
on.
know, just like do that. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens. That movie probably we're like 5 years away. I'm sure because they got to write it all. Who knows? I hope we get more Cheetah from it. They did kick off DC Fandom with a Black Adam teaser, and we're finally, The Rock has been saying this since 2007 that the hierarchy of power is going to change in the DC universe. Like, Dwayne, we get it, pal. You've been saying this for a while, like 20 years now. It looks badass. He pretty much like they go in to there's like some grave robbers or whatever they are. They go in there. He shows up and like he grabs this dude's head and like zaps him into dust, and I'm like, all right, this looks like it could be pretty brutal. I hope they don't Dwayne Johnson his character up and make it so he's like this good guy, because Black Adam is not a good guy. So did you happen to see that teaser at all?
No, I didn't. I watched the Batman one and I watched the Flash one, but I didn't see anything else.
Yes.
I was not home all day Saturday.
I was. Well, I wasn't. It just happened to go from the time before I went out for my birthday with Carrie. So we got a Harley Quinn 3 TV series. That show's coming out soon.
It's live action?
No. The cartoon series for HBO
Oh.
Max. I will say that they have a Static Shock film coming out, produced by Michael B. Jordan. That's coming. They're doing a lot of great initiatives, as far as like getting, you know, people of color and that into the comic book industry, getting them like classes as how to be better comic book writers, better writers in general, things like that. So they're doing a lot of awesome things for that. So that's was another great announcement. DC, you're doing great there. Is I will say also like the stuff with Ruby Rose, we're not really going to talk about. We're going to let that play out first, but
yeah,
there's that. However, we got an Aquaman teaser a little bit. They talked about it slightly. There's nothing really new there, but except for Black Manta's suit. His suit looks phenomenal. Like that suit should not look as good as it does in live action because it's a goofy suit. Like it looks stupid. But James Wan and co, they've really done a great job with the Black Manta suit. Cannot wait for that. They got a Shazam Fury of the Gods teaser. That movie, again, phenomenal looking. Although Asher, Angel, and all of them are going to be like 25 years old by the time, and he's not going to have to Shazam into Zachary Levi, I feel like, but whatever. We got that teaser, and then, you know, we got a bunch of cartoons. Young Justice is a cartoon that was canceled for a while. However, it's back on HBO Max. It's going to be coming out every Thursday. We're getting another season of Doom Patrol, another season of Titans. The Flash teaser, though, that shit looks good. So we got a Flash teaser. The Flash suit looks great. The colors, it looks ripped right out of the New 52 comics. You heard Michael Keaton's voice, and then you even see him walking at one point with the big bat ears, and you're just like, and then at the end of the teaser, Ezra is pulling off the thing, and you're like, you just know that's the 89 Batmobile, dude.
Oh, of course, 100%. I just want to know, are we going to get to see Michael Keaton turn his neck? Like, is he going to be able to turn his head now? Has the bat suit like gotten better in the last 30 years? Oh, that movie is 30 years old. That's crazy.
We are
32 years old.
Yes. I'm excited though. I hope Grant Gustin, like Micah just said, gets a cameo in it. And just because
gosh, yes.
We did the whole Crisis thing where Ezra, so I hope we get that. So I'm excited for that. But Flash is like my favorite superhero, so I am wicked pumped to get some Flash movie action, and I think it comes out next year. I believe they finished filming officially. The movie is finished wrapped filming, so I think we're getting it next year. But let's talk about that Batman trailer.
He needs a haircut.
Barry Allen or
Sorry. No,
Who?
Batman.
Batman?
The Twilight dude, the guy from Harry Potter.
Robert Pattinson.
His hair when he's Bruce Wayne is like all like in his face. He looks like the Green Goblin in the Andrew Garfield ones.
Okay, he's an
I didn't
emo
like
in the
his hair.
streets. Let him go. Guess what?
I mean, come
he's
on.
mourning his parents' death while listening to Black Parade. You
His
let him
parents
go.
have been dead for years. No, but he's got. I mean, like if you're gonna have the hair and the bat thing, you don't want like bangs coming out of like your bat helmet.
He slicks it back probably and puts the hat the.
Well, in the
cowl
commercial,
on.
it wasn't slicked back, and he
Yeah,
looks terrible.
well-
He does not look like a billionaire, whatever Bruce Wayne is now.
Have you seen some of these billionaires today? They look pretty homeless and crappy.
Is that what we're going for?
I don't know.
Because it's Bruce Wayne.
Why don't you just let the movie play out? Why don't we say, don't? I came here to hype
As
up
long
the
as it
Batman,
doesn't start
and you
screaming
came here
Martha.
to stomp all over my hopes and dreams.
I'm excited about the Flash movie. Michael Keaton's my Batman. Maybe that's my issue.
Listen, Robert Pattinson looks great. Zoe Kravitz looks great as Catwoman, and Batman just.
Zoe does look good. Yeah.
You're telling me that you didn't get hyped from watching Batman walk down that tunnel, just eating bullets left and right, striking fear into the Gotham City
No.
criminals? What?
It did nothing for me.
What? I was
Oh, look at
fully
him. He's
aroused.
got Kevlar on. Oh.
Oh,
Colin Farrell looked terrible, but I mean, he also looked amazing at the same time. The fact that that's Colin Farrell is
you
like,
can't tell at all. It's crazy, right?
oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, the prosthetics they put on him to make him look incredibly
Unreal.
unattractive
I
is
can't believe you're
crazy.
not excited for this movie's going to be amazing. It's coming out in March. I thought it came out in October. It's coming out in March. Like, I'm excited, damn it. The Riddler, we haven't seen his face. He's very Zodiac killer. That's
just
going to be
his coffee.
freaking dope. Yeah, it has a question mark. He's pondering life, and they go in there and beat him up. Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon looks so sick. Like, and we even
Isn't that the
saw
Watcher?
Andy Serkis. Yes, it is the Watcher.
Yeah, as Alfred.
We saw him as Alfred, and he looked pretty cool too.
What's funny is he actually, like, because he's so dressed up, and, you know, to me, I'm mainly used to seeing him in the Marvel universe. He actually, for a second, he looked very much so like the Alfred from Gotham.
Ah, yes, he did.
Micah
I
just
do
said that's
remember.
because we are Wolverine fans. Lauren Logan
Y'all
needs
suck.
no bats.
I came here to hype
Very
up.
true.
Anyways, you're gonna be able to catch me.
Wolverine
talking,
doesn't need any Kevlar.
You're gonna catch me talking some DC fandom when I join my homie Sean from Metalcore Nerds on Friday. I'm gonna join him for an episode for that, and then that's gonna probably come out next week, or maybe it's live. I don't know. I'll let you guys know. So at least somebody.
If
will
you
be
need
there.
anybody to come on and bash Batman, just let me know.
No, because we're both excited. Okay, we don't need anybody like you. We don't need you. Okay. That's
right,
that's
fine.
kind of all I really
I'm
have
just
as
gonna
far
go
as
to
news.
Universal and hang out.
Listen,
in
Lauren
Landing.
makes one TikTok video that gets a lot of views, and all of a sudden she's too good for the DC universe. Unreal.
Uh,
All right.
I knew I'd
well,
get there someday. And now from here on out, all our videos are going to go back to 20 views.
They probably
Just
most likely will never be able to. Like,
TikTok's like, fix this flaw, fix it.
everybody's gonna unfollow us, and nobody at this point is ever gonna want to like. They're gonna be like, "Oh, why do I follow this account?" I don't know. We struck gold,
Right.
and we'll never be able to recreate that again.
No, we're going to be like the Beverly Hillbillies.
By
But we just
God.
blow all our money right away.
We are going to make the Dark Knight out of our TikTok because right now we are sitting on Batman Begins. We're gonna come out with the Dark Knight, an even better masterpiece.
I already dropped my second one because Carrie told us we had to.
We have
Half-Life
to.
told us
The
we had to make
algorithms.
another one while we were.
We have to make
were
2 or
riding
3,
high.
get them out there while people are hot, and it's on their pages, so that way we see it, and then more people. I don't know. I don't understand this stuff. I'm an old man. I don't.
understand.
I'm not
I
gonna
still
pretend
don't understand
to.
the Instagram algorithm.
Oh.
How can you have more followers and less likes? I don't understand what's wrong. What's happening?
I don't know. Anyway, speaking of Instagram, where do people find us on Instagram?
At HOPS GEEK News. That's where they can find
Ooh.
us on Instagram.
And
I post the best beer pictures there.
she does. So Lauren handles all the Instagram. I'm on Twitter, so catch us at Geek Hops on Twitter. That's me. Hops Geek News on Instagram. That's Lauren. And I just dropped the link for our merch. Go to hopsgeeknews.threadless.com. We are about to record our Halloween 1978 commentary track with my heterosexual life mate Josh right after this. And I'm excited for that. Halloween Kills is out. I'm going to probably talk about that briefly before we go into the
Evil
commentary.
dies
We'll see.
tonight.
But evil dies tonight. Evil.
Well, I got some fun facts for that too.
We do. So can make sure that's going to come out on Monday. That's probably our last spooky season episode. Roll of tears.
Yep, and then it's going to be Eternals.
I don't know. I'm not talking
I got a
anything
bunch of
past
comics
Halloween.
I got to read next week.
Nope. We are living in
Okay,
October still. Damn it. Anyways, thanks for joining us on this wonderful edition of Hops News, where you can find us every Wednesday night live at 8 p.m. Eastern on all Hops News, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, all the good stuff, right? Catch us. It's been a real slice. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks to Frank for coming on. And we'll see you all next week. Cheers!
Yes. Cheers.